Our embassies are being besieged all over the world. They are in Egypt, Libya, Yemen now, also Morocco and Tunisia. Now, there are different variety of attacks or protests in those. So, for example, in Morocco, 300 to 400 people showed up, but there was no siege or anything along those lines. It was just a peaceful protest. In Yemen, it was significantly more than that. And they breached the first layer of the compound. They put up the black and white flag that says there is no God but Allah. Now, they did not go into the internal embassy where, our ambassador and our staff is. So that's good. At least they didn't go that far, right? But that is a significant breach nonetheless. In Tunisia, there were rocks and stones thrown, 200 protesters, etc. Now, Libya appears to be the worst of it, obviously, because 4 Americans were killed, including our ambassador. But what's interesting is, in the long run, Libya seems to be the most pro-American of that bunch. Now, why? Let me tell you. First of all, they just had an election where the Muslim Brotherhood lost. Do you know who won? It's a guy who used to be a professor at the University of Alabama. Not only did he live in the U.S., but as I said, he was a professor in Alabama, of all places. In fact, in eastern Libya, when you do polling, America's popularity is at 60%. That's amazing. I don't know if it's that high in this country. And how about hardline Muslims? They're down at 28%. They are not popular in Libya. In fact, the Libyans were incredibly mad about the attack on the U.S. Embassy. First of all, there has been about 10 or so protests throughout the country in favor of America over the last day, saying, hey, we stand with our brothers in America. In fact, let me show you some pictures of the protesters holding up signs, some saying we're sorry, even though obviously they didn't do it. Obviously, rest in peace to Christopher Stevens, an ambassador that they actually really liked in Libya because he's part of the people that brought them freedom. He helped the rebels in Libya win. And they're saying terrorists have no place here and that we will bring them to justice. And this was in protest after protest. So great credit to Libya there. In fact, Libya has already arrested 4 people that they believe were involved in the attacks against us. So, and the president says we are working with the Libyan government. So that is very good news. The bad news is Egypt. Now, President Obama was talking to Telemundo, and these are unusually harsh words in diplomatic circles. Listen to what he says.
Would you consider the current Egyptian regime an ally of the United States?
I don't think that we would consider them an ally, but we don't consider them an enemy. They are a new government that is trying to find its way. They were democratically elected. I think that we are going to have to see how they respond to this incident, how they respond to, for example, maintaining the peace treaty with Israel. Mm-hmm. If they take actions that indicate they're not taking those responsibilities, as all other countries do where we have embassies, I think that's going to be a real big problem.
A real big problem. Now, there's 2 things in there that are explosive. First of all, they might not be protecting our embassies as they should be. That's a very, very serious charge. In fact, now there is a lot of news coming out about that. Martin Indyk, who was our former ambassador to Israel, saying that this is the 4th time an embassy has been assaulted in Cairo, with the police doing precious little. Now, keep in mind, we give $2 billion in aid to Egypt every year. And in fact, we are considering for giving a $1 billion loan as well. Now, again, we were supportive of the revolution in Egypt, and so you would think that there would be a little appreciation there. So people being upset about that here, I think, is somewhat justified to say the least. Now, that's not all. Mohamed Morsi, the leader of Egypt now, took 48 hours before he put out a statement saying, hey, you know what, the embassy attack should be condemned. Only after President Obama made that comment on Telemundo, 24 hours after that, Morsi came out. But the Muslim Brotherhood, which is his party, has been putting out mixed messages. In their English feeds, they say, oh, well, you know what, shame what happened in the embassy. In their Arabic feeds, their Twitter feeds, they're saying, hey, you know what? Let's protest again on Friday, and we encourage it. This is not the time to be encouraging protests. So now people are saying, hey, Morsi is now a politician, and he's got a right-wing base that's Muslim fundamentalist in his country, and he's got to appease that base. Now, as we sit here in America, boy, does that sound familiar. But this is outside of the bounds of reason in how you appease that base. But it gets worse. According to some journalists in Cairo, including Aaron Cunningham, who is with the Global Post, U.S. Embassy area normally has massive security presence, she says, including armored cars and reinforcements. Where are they? And then Matt Bradley from the Wall Street Journal says they were withdrawn weeks ago. So the fact that some security has been withdrawn from our embassies is outrageous. That's why President Obama is talking in very heavy language there. And then the second thing that he said was, hey, listen, we're not sure you're an ally. To a country we're giving all that aid to and that we have this treaty with, and the reason we give them all that aid is because they have a peace treaty with Israel. And he reminds them they have to honor that peace treaty. This is trouble. I mean, if we've got a government that is decided, well, I'm not so sure that we're going to be in the business of protecting the U.S. Embassy, that is terrible news. Now, look, the U.S. government has been against Mohammed Morsi because he has reached out to Iran. That I don't care about. It's a democratically elected government. He can reach out to anyone he likes. Yes, he reached out to Iran. Yes, he reached out to China. Yes, he went to Europe before the U.S. Now, look, that's a normal diplomatic scuffle. There's nothing wrong with that. And when somebody has a democracy, they're not going to elect the people you like. They're going to try to serve Egyptian interests, whatever they might be. And there's a significant, Muslim fundamentalist strain in Egypt, as there is a significant Christian fundamentalist strain here in the United States. And when those Christian fundamentalists elected George W. Bush, the rest of the world was not happy about it. But they don't get to vote in our elections, and we don't get to vote in Egyptian elections. But there is a line, and the line is protecting our embassy. If Mohammed Morsi is not willing to do that, or is at least sending mixed messages about that, well, that's where we got to regulate. And so that's why President Obama is saying, hey, you better watch yourself. And I agree on that front.